The next speaker is the Honorable J.S. Malema.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. President, we must begin by expressing our deepest disappointment in you as an individual who has been celebrated as one of the architects of the Constitution of South Africa. On the 10th of December 1996, you sat head and shoulder with President Nelson Mandela and committed this country and yourself to abiding by the rule of law and to protect and defend the Constitution that President Mandela signed on that day. You vowed in front of the world that you will hold sacrosanct the ideals of accountability and transparency which is enshrined in the Constitution without fail. Today, 26 years after you held Nelson Mandela's hand, lifted our Constitution high into the air, you stand as the greatest enemy of constitutionalism and accountability. As a so-called architect of the Constitution, you have resolved to take Parliament of South Africa to court to avoid constitutional obligation of accountability. As a so-called crafter of our democratic dispensation, you are accused of engaging in activities that characterized a criminal underworld. As a so-called champion of accountability to masses of our people, you today avoid scrutiny and questioning like a fugitive. Mr. President, your reluctance to allow inquiry into the activities of Phala Phala farm are shocking and concerning. You are so desperate to avoid any type of investigation into the crimes that have occurred at and in relation to a Phala Phala farm that you have decided to spit in the face of the freedoms and institutions so many fought and died for. Concerning because it means worse has happened in the farm that you do not want people of South Africa to know. Instead of using the process of the impeachment inquiry to clear your name, you have mobilized your party to fight against an attempt to discover the truth of what happened in Phala Phala farm. Mr. President, you stand accused of theft from the people of South Africa. You stand accused of violating your oath of office and of violating the Constitution. You have stashed money in mattresses and allegedly avoided paying taxes. It is now accepted fact that you did not declare millions of foreign currency kept in your coffers to the South African Reserve Bank. It is now an undeniable fact that you have engaged in paid work while occupying the office of the President of South Africa. It is an undenied fact that your answers regarding Phala Phala farm are unreliable because they change depending on the audience you speak to. It has become clear that you have no intention of taking responsibility for the crimes of Phala Phala farm, because at every opportunity you blame vulnerable staff members of the crimes, staff members who can only operate under your instructions. If you are not blaming staff, you are compromising investigative institutions and casting aspersion on those who make damning findings. You have degenerated and you are clinching to power under the instruction of a faction that is desperate to control the levers of state power at the expense of the people of this country. Mr. President, I want to remind you that I warned you of surrounding yourself with yes men and women who will ill-advise you in the interest of their stomach. I warned you that you should not allow factionalism to dictate the decision you take when it comes to South Africa. I warned you that the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers will not be there to defend you when we ask you to account for the decisions you implement on their behalf. I warned you of how patronizing factions can be because they will never tell you the truth. Now you have decided to take your very own parliament to court because you have allowed factions to guide your decision-making instead of your integrity and conscience. You have engaged in questionable activities such as alleged laundering of money, the abduction of suspects of crime, the misuse of state resources, because the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers made you feel like you are untouchable. Today, we are touching you because you are not in the pockets of your faction or your handlers. We are touching you because we knew that white monopoly capital will use you and toss you aside. Mr. President, you should be ashamed that you have become the enemy of what so long defined your legacy. Mr. Ramaphosa, we declare without fear of contradiction that you are an enemy of the Constitution of South Africa. From today, you will be treated like a real constitutional delinquent. No amount of numbers can intimidate us into silence. We have done this before, we will do it again. What if the President of South Africa is a spy? What if the spy is paid in foreign currencies? Why are the members of the ruling party not concerned to want to find the truth if their president is not in the pockets of foreign agents? What have you become so much that you are scared to hold one individual accountable in defense of our Constitution? As we sit here today, you have an opportunity to choose an individual over the Constitution of South Africa, to choose thuggerism over accountability. But all of you must know that history will judge you harshly. It is this man who held the hand of Nelson Mandela and said the Constitution of South Africa is above all of us. Today is the same man who's peeing on the Constitution of South Africa. Thank you.
I thank you, Honorable. I thank you, Honorable Member.